Welcome to Vegan Business Talk with Katrina Fox, author of Vegan Ventures, Start and Grow an Ethical Business. Hello and welcome to episode 117 of Vegan Business Talk. I'm Katrina Fox, journalist, author and PR consultant and founder of Vegan Business Media, a content, events and training platform providing success strategies for vegan business owners and entrepreneurs. Now, just quickly before we jump into the main part of the show, I wanted to let you know about my online PR course and group coaching program, Vegans in the Limelight. Now, this is a 12-month online program where you have video training that teaches you everything you need to know about how to do your own PR. You can ask questions on the platform and you can also post your proposed pitches and media releases before sending them to journalists to get my feedback. You also get to jump on a monthly live group call where you can ask whatever questions you want about your business and you can get tailored help from me on anything to do with raising the profile of your brand. So it might be that I look at your website and give you some feedback, or how to improve your LinkedIn profile and other marketing and PR topics. So if you'd like to find out more about that, just hop on over to veganbusinessmedia.com and you'll see a link there for Vegans in the Limelight. And now on to the main part of the show. In this episode, I interviewed Damien Clarkson and Judy Nadel, co-founders of Vevolution, a plant-based event startup in London, UK. Damien has spent the past decade primarily working on social change projects for some of the UK's biggest NGOs and brands. He's previously run a creative agency, and in fact he's been on this show before, back in 2016, in episode 35, talking about digital strategy. But since then, he and Judy have taken Vevolution forward and now work on it full-time. Judy is a creative tour de force. She's passionate about the sensory arts, promoting women via her platform Badass Vegan Women, and encouraging people to care about animals and the environment. She's worked with some of the biggest organisations in the UK in creating digital work and curating hackathons. With a background in events management, her main aim for each project and event is to bring people together to connect and create unique one-off experiences. In this episode, Damien and Judy talk about how they've managed to secure some of London's most prestigious and expensive venues and still break even on their events, what the most popular events have been and how they decide what kinds of talks, topics and events to run, the marketing strategies they use to attract crowds to their events, what's involved in pulling together their Pitch and Plant event, which is a vegan version of Dragon's Den or Shark Tank, how they work with sponsors and brands over and above the typical stall, table or booth offering to achieve a win-win that helps both parties' businesses grow, how they got onto an Accelerator program with one of the UK's largest banks, and much more. Here's the interview with Damien Clarkson and Judy Nadel from Vevolution. Hello, Damien and Judy. Lovely to speak with you. Welcome to the show, both of you. And I know that we've had Damien on before, and you can listen to Damien's episode that we did a while back. But I'm really happy to have both of you on the show to talk about Vevolution, which is a really interesting vegan startup that's gone from strength to strength. So, in a nutshell, you're a plant-based startup, and you particularly offer events discussing a range of issues related to veganism, from business to health and fashion and everything. So just tell me a little bit in a nutshell, what's the why behind Vevolution? So what's your aim and your mission, and why did you start it?
Yeah, I guess I'll go first on this. We started Vevolution about 2 years ago because we knew all these amazing people who were vegan and doing all these really interesting things in the world. And we felt like we needed to create a really super highly produced professional platform to talk about the big solutions to the problems we're facing, like as a world, climate change, animals suffering, and health crises. So we felt that Vevolution could become this really interesting platform for ideas and stories to be shared, and it's kind of turned out to be that way. And I think now today we definitely exist to inspire people to eat more plants, to try veganism, and to go out and create positive change in the world, and with whatever their passion is, whether someone's passionate about business or passionate about fashion or passionate about campaigning, we want them to go out there and kind of seize the moment and believe in themselves and create some positive impact.
Yeah, and another main reason why we started as well is that we really wanted to lower the kind of barrier to getting involved in the vegan community, and we really wanted to attract non-vegan people to our events. And so we wanted to make it a place for vegan people to come and feel empowered and inspired, but we really wanted to attract non-vegan people to feel included and just to learn more about the movement and to feel that they were in a kind of safe space, that they weren't going to be judged and they were going to be part of the community. And like Damien said, we also really wanted to kind of produce a highly professional event and put it on in really creative spaces that would hopefully get into mainstream press and get the word out there.
I love that. And you've touched on the spaces and events. Now, event spaces are notoriously expensive to hire. They are in Sydney, they are in London, New York, everywhere. It's always kind of a big thing about, if you want to hold an event, that's often the biggest expense or one of the biggest expenses. Now, you've managed to get into some, like you said, some really cool places. I think one of the ones, most recent one is the Roundhouse in London. And you've had events in Mayfair, which for international listeners is probably the most expensive or one of the most expensive places in London. So tell us a little bit about how have you made that happen and still managed to make your events either break even or profitable, if indeed they have?
Yeah, like you said, our main challenge actually with doing Vevolution is the cost of the venues, and especially with the types of venues we choose, because from the start we always wanted to pick really creative spaces that would attract, because we feel like if you put it on in an obscure space, if it's an obscure topic, then maybe a non-vegan person might not be attracted to go to it. Where if it's in a really prestigious location where it's really creative and people know about it already, kind of lowers that barrier to entry, where people feel safe because they're going to a place they're familiar with, and also because it will hopefully get into the mainstream press, and it will just veganism and the plant-based world will just be taken seriously as well, more seriously. But it's been really, really hard for us because it is crazy expensive. I'm quite fortunate that my background is in events, so I've kind of had different relationships with venues over the years of me working in events. So with the Roundhouse, I actually worked at the Roundhouse for quite a few years. And so I have still a few relationships there. So that's how that partnership came about. And so I was really fortunate. But we've had to work super, super hard with researching, with negotiating, with, really trying to sell people what we're trying to do. Because what we found, especially at the beginning of doing Vevolution, is that we were going out to a lot of venues because especially with the festival, we need certain criteria with spaces and the capacity. So we're going out to some venues that I had no contacts with, and people couldn't quite understand what we were at the beginning. They thought we were a trade show, or they just didn't quite understand what we were. And so we really had to sell them on what we were doing. And we were lucky to, the one in Mayfair, that was actually quite tough at the beginning, but we went there and we met with the event manager and we gave her loads of information, and then they were on board with what we were doing. And we've had to be quite careful. So with that venue, that was a charity, so we were able to do something in Mayfair because it was reduced rates because it was a charity. So it's about doing lots of research and also lots of negotiation.
Yeah, and something that's really helped us actually is that we've always paid to have professional photographers at our events. We've always recorded films and videos at our events, so that we can show them to venues and they can visualize what we do, and they're like, wow, this looks really slick and looks really professional, and it doesn't look scary, and it just looks like something they can get on board with. So that's really, really helped us. And I think another thing that has helped us is that we made a commitment as an organization that we were always going to create free content. We were going to film some of our events, we were going to record our podcast that comes out weekly, and we wanted to create this free educational content for people around the world. And as a result, we recognized that we would charge a higher ticket price than some other plant-based events because we wanted to produce things in really expensive venues, because we wanted it to look amazing. We want people to look at veganism as a movement and go, wow, this is something that is here to stay, and this is something that's in the mainstream. So we kind of said, okay, we know our events are going to be a little bit more expensive, but they're going to be really, really, really great. And then you're also going to be able to get free content. If you can't make it to London, if you can't afford a ticket, there's always free content for people.
Yeah. And also we're going back to kind of the, you know, how expensive the venues are and about breaking even. Like, in all honesty, like with our events, we do basically break even, because we could probably pick a cheaper venue that's like not as like in a great location, and you know, kind of like lower the kind of risk in that sort of way. But for us, we always wanted to put veganism in kind of the mainstream and at the forefront, and kind of challenge, and especially at the beginning, because like things have changed so much over the past, you know, couple of years. But like at the beginning, when we were doing these events, like veganism wasn't in the mainstream like how it is now, and we really wanted to be part of the movement who is like putting it in the mainstream. So for us, we kind of took that risk in like choosing like the more expensive venues, and to break even over like, you know, doing it somewhere cheaper to kind of like make loads of money, because for us we had like a different sort of reason why we were doing it.
Yeah, got it. And I love that. I love the kind of, you really set your brand up from the beginning and been very clear about what you want to do and how you want to produce it. And I love the way you've said you've been working with the venues, because I think that makes a difference. I know I was approached just this week to coordinate a panel as part of a big festival that happens here in Sydney, very mainstream, even happening on the North Shore, which is unheard of, around veganism. And but they're kind of on board with it, and I think that does make a big difference, because they'll also be sending out to their lists, you know what I mean, like they're happy to send out to their own lists and stuff, so they're reaching that mainstream audience. So I love the fact that you're doing that. It is a different take on, say, vegan festivals, which typically people go, oh, it's a vegan festival, it's a vegan event, well, I can't go, I'm not vegan. And I think now we're seeing like what you're doing is actually, well, yeah, it's a plant-based vegan event, but everybody's welcome and bringing it mainstream. So I love that. So thank you for sharing that about the venues. And I think you're right. It's about getting those relationships going, getting people on board, and then, yeah, trying to get some kind of discounted rate or some kind of support from them, so that you're not, necessarily paying the big corporate rates and what have you, which is fantastic. So what would you say then, I know you haven't been going, you've been going a couple of years now, what would you say some of the mistakes that you've made to date with Vevolution? What did you learn and what would you do differently?
I think we're sometimes a bit too quick to say yes to things, which I know sounds good thing to say yes to things, but I think we've been really, really small team. You know, it's been me and Judy for pretty much 2 years. We now have a couple of people working with us part-time, but you know, as veganism's grown, as Vevolution's grown, people want to collaborate with us, and which is really lovely, and want to offer us things to do. And sometimes we're like, yeah, we'll do that. Yeah, we'll do this. Yeah, we'll do that. And then before you know it, me and Judy are completely knackered and burnt out, and we said yes too many times. So I think we've definitely, like, sometimes we've been a bit what's the word, reactive.
Yeah,
like we've just kind of said yes to things when we need to maybe take a slightly longer term view and say, okay, we've got to say no to a few things, because this will then enable us to do something that's really aligned with our goals. So I think that's been maybe one mistake we've made a few times.
Yeah. That's an interesting one. I think that's a big one, I think, for a lot of business owners, whether vegan or not. I know I've heard that a few times from people. And it is tempting, you know, especially when you've got a new brand and you're putting yourself out there, and then people start coming to you. There is that temptation to go, oh, yeah, this sounds great. And so that does actually make a lot of sense. Now, you talked about how, so you managed to break even by putting the ticket prices slightly higher and just, you know, angling the event at a particular way. So how have you kind of funded this to date? Because if you're just breaking even with this, you've now got kind of a bit of a part-time team. How have you managed to do that? I know, Damien, when we spoke previously, you had your own agency doing content creation, etc. So can you talk a little bit about how Vevolution has been funded to date so far?
Yeah, like I'll speak at the beginning. So at the beginning when we started Vevolution, like we were both doing kind of jobs on the side. So like Damien had his agency, I was doing events for other people, so I was producing events for other people. So we were both having kind of like our own like careers on the side. So Vevolution
was a sideline, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like a passion to start with, and we never expected it to be, you know, what it is now. Like we thought it was going to be a one-off event, and it's turned into this incredible community. But to start with, we were both doing our own jobs, and then after we did the first event, we noticed that there was something in this and that we wanted to put more time into it. So then we started kind of pivoting into the fact that we were doing more consultancy work. So we were trying to work with, vegan brands and other businesses to just fund us being able to do the event side of things. And so we're doing a lot of like consultancy work with different companies, and we were also fortunate to get like a couple of donations who were there that kind of helped us like basically go full time on Vevolution. But the main thing with our events is that how we are able to pay for our time was that it was through sponsorship and kind of brand deals. So like the tickets basically paid for the event to happen, and they still do. And to pay for our time, it was through kind of working with sponsors and working with brands and bringing them to our events. And it wasn't just kind of like, here's a stall at the event. We really work with all of our sponsors and brands to give them the most exposure with our community and to make them part of like the Vevolution family and to really champion what they're doing. But we have to, we
also advise them as well. We give them bits of advice.
Nice. I love that. That's really good. I really appreciate you sharing this, because you're right. In terms of sponsorship, people often think, oh yeah, okay, you get a free stall and you put your name on the website, maybe a banner up and that's it. But I think sponsors are now expecting more. They want more now. And it's important to, like you say, develop that relationship and really genuinely put them in front of your audience, which obviously you need to have the right sponsors and not just anyone who's prepared to throw money at you, so that you feel comfortable introducing them to your audience. So I love that you've shared that. Fantastic. And I was curious how you got from, like you say, having the side gig, which many entrepreneurs start out, to being able to do this full time. So that's fantastic.
We were really lucky to get a donation from an anonymous individual a while back that really allowed me and Judy to make the step to full time, even if that was only temporary. But then that extra time that we were able to put in the business, it meant that we were able to get more brands on board and then kind of start to become more self-sustaining. So
nice.
There are good people out there looking out for vegan businesses, and I think that really helped us.
It saved us really, because doing the consultancy work was great, and we were really passionate about working with vegan brands, but it really ate into our time, so we didn't really have much time to really focus on Vevolution as a business and the strategy.
You remember I'd come home from work and we'd be like sending out sponsorship emails at like 10 o'clock at night.
It was such a hard thing to kind of balance.
We're working like 12:30. We still do sometimes, but
absolutely.
The kind of sponsors and like what you were saying about finding the right kind of people, this is something that we really care about, because we obviously don't want to just work with any brand that doesn't align with like our values and our ethos and our community. So we really try and handpick like the best people that we want to work with and that share our vision. And we've been really fortunate that all the sponsors we've worked with and that have found us, or we found, really do that, and they are part of the family. And it's like you were saying, it's not kind of just like a soulless thing where they just get a stall. Like we really care about these brands, and we believe in their products, which I think is the most important thing. So I think you can tell when a company is working with a brand that they don't truly believe in, and especially kind of product, but they don't really care about the story behind the brand. And that's what we do. Like, we're about storytelling, so we had to make sure that we were working with brands that have an amazing story and that they've come to this place where we want to be able to share their vision and what they're doing. And
we kind of position it as we'll be your insider into the vegan movement, and you can call us up at any time, and if you've got a new product or an idea, or you want to run a campaign, like we've got that experience from our other life basically for Vevolution, and we can be of value to them in that way. So it's more than just rocking up.
Got it. Love it. Now you were recently accepted onto the NetWest Business Accelerator program. I saw that you posted that on your Facebook. Can you tell us a bit about that? So what it is, how it came about, and how exactly it works? So what do you get out of it, and for how long?
So how it came about actually was that another plant-based business, Mindful Bites, are based out of that Accelerator program. It's based in Angel, which is an area in central London. And they recommended that we apply for it. So I hadn't heard of it, but it basically, NetWest have put loads of money aside to support startup businesses as part of their strategy as a bank. And as part of that, they have these accelerators around the country, which they run for lots of different businesses, a lot of financial tech businesses fintech businesses, and then I guess companies like ours. And it basically means that Vevolution will have office space for the next 6 months in Angel. We will get mentoring from business coaches, and kind of NetWest will open up their little black book to help us get meetings with people we maybe want to connect with. So we're really excited to join it. I think they said to us they have only over 500 people apply, and they select about 50 companies. We had to pitch to them,
and that was one of the most intense, scariest pitches we've ever done. We had literally 10 minutes to with two of the people from the Accelerator program, and we had 60 seconds to pitch our business. And we're like, how we do a course in 60 seconds?
Oh my god!
Like we were on like The Apprentice or something.
Yeah. But yeah, it's really exciting, and I think for us to be in there as like a vegan business with lots of other companies who hopefully we can collaborate with, and it just is the next step for us in terms of helping Vevolution become a sustaining thing that can continue to grow and inspire people and be part of this like amazing community. So yeah, we're really excited about it.
Yeah.
So what was the sort of, because obviously like you say, 500 companies apply, so it's obviously very competitive. So what do you think you did? Like, what were the requirements, and what do you think you did to stand apart and get accepted onto something like that?
I think we're very passionate about what we do. We care deeply about veganism. We care deeply about climate change. We care deeply about helping people have good lives. So I think our passion probably helped us, and I think Vevolution has been, within our little niche, has been a success story. I think that's undoubted. It's been one of the businesses that has kind of done well the last couple of years. So I think we probably, I think our vision of why we do what we do was probably a strong reason why we got in.
100%. I think they also saw that we're doing quite a lot of things, and I think they wanted to help us streamline what we're doing as well, which is good, because I think we need that. We don't have mentors, we don't have business coaches, so I think that's something that we really need, actually. And I think they saw that, and I think they seemed quite excited about. They commented on how we are doing quite a lot of things, and would we be up for them kind of giving us feedback, and would we change the way we're doing things? And we were totally open to that, and we said yes, because we need that sort of support, and outside objective of like what we're doing. So I think that's something they saw in us, that they could help us like streamline a bit what we're doing.
It's important. Something we get a lot, because we get so many startups come to me, both myself and Judy, and say, can you help me? Can you guide me? Can you just like give me advice? We get asked it all the time. I'm sure you do as well, Katrina.
Yeah.
The thing I always say is that, in my opinion, or in Judy's opinion, we think this. We don't say that this is the definitive answer, and we are like business, because we're learning as entrepreneurs all the time.
Exactly. Yeah.
We may have some good advice for people, but it's by no means the best advice that might be available. So we're totally up for learning. We think this experience is going to be like very good for us.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Now, you've run lots of different events, like we talked about, including your latest one, Judy, She Loves Plants, which is a female empowerment event and community. What have been the most popular events, and how do you decide what type of talks or events to run?
Well, the most popular is the festival. People come from all over the world to attend that. Literally, we have people from Guatemala, jungles come over. We have people from Los Angeles. We have people from all across Europe, Asia. So the Vevolution Festival, which we run every year in November, is their kind of showcase event. But yeah, like I
think all the events are popular in their own right. They're all very different. So I think they attract a certain kind of person. So I think they're all popular in their own right. Like with the festival, we do have, because it's such a big event and it's like a whole day and there's like so much going on. I think that's why people do travel. But then also with our plant-based business boot camp, we had people traveling from around the world as well. So I think with all the events we've done, they've all been super strong and popular in their own right. With how we kind of come up with the different ideas and find the speakers, like it is tricky because we just have so many ideas and we want to do everything at once. But what we've learned is to really like try and kind of have a strategy behind it, and we do as much planning as we can. And I think the way She Loves Plants has come about, plant-based business boot camp, is that we saw there weren't other events like that happening, and so we try not kind of copy things that have been done beforehand, and we try and innovate and do something different. And so I think that's how we've been able to come up with like lots of different types of topics, but they all have the same sort of like mission in the middle of it. So at the heart, it's we are trying to kind of like put veganism in the mainstream and also attract non-vegan people. That's always kind of at the forefront, and to put on the most kind of creative events. So that's like always at kind of the heart of what we're doing. But we love to experiment and to try new different events out.
Yeah, and Sheila was a prime example of that.
And it was just such an incredible event. Like, I was just overwhelmed with the energy and the discussions, and it was just, and also I think the reason why we do these different events, especially like She Loves Plants, is, you know, at the festival, for example, like we have different topics like the environment, you know, health and well-being, food innovation, but there's some topics that aren't discussed because, you know, it's just maybe not the right platform. Whereas at She Loves Plants, we were able to really hone in on like things that we don't normally talk about at the festival. For example, like how climate change is like actually a feminist issue, and, you know, honing in on more kind of like niche sort of areas. And like how we got Wickerware, who have created like a sustainable, reusable like sanitary period panty basically, and how they're trying to re-educate, you know, people on periods. And it's, you know, it's just so incredible to be able to have the platform to give these speakers who are doing the most amazing work the voice to be able to do something there, whereas at the festival we're not always able to kind of experiment with it.
Got it. No, that makes sense. It sounds wonderful. I'm just shame you're so far away. I'm envious. I want to come. We touched on.
We do like a cross world.
Yeah, that would be fun. That would be fun. Now, you also run a vegan version of Dragon's Den, as it's known in the UK, or elsewhere. It's probably known better as Shark Tank almost. It's not exactly the same format, but it's kind of got a bit of a vibe around it, where basically plant-based businesses, they come together in the UK and they compete to actually win an investment. And I know that particular event, I think you've run it twice, if I'm right, and obviously the second one there was a much bigger amount of money on the table that was available. So can you just talk us through a little bit about what was involved in pulling that together? What were the challenges, and what did you have to do to make the second event better than the first one?
Yeah, I think the second event was better because it was a sort of standalone event. It was at the end of our plant-based business bootcamp. We kind of, for the evening, we turned the venue around and we had a whole event with 100 people there. Whereas the first one, we kind of just threw it into Vevolution Festival and thought, well, it would be a fun little thing to do as part of the festival programming. So as a standalone event, that definitely made it more sense of an occasion. In terms of running the event, I think the biggest challenge is to find the right partners to work with. So not everyone knows investors who have got lots of money to put into companies. So I think like we've built up a network over the last couple of years of people who are passionate about supporting plant-based business in that way. So I think that's a unique position we're in, that we kind of, as a company that, you know, showcases great ideas and stories from vegan people, we've attracted a real kind of entrepreneurial community to Vevolution. And so like we've met investors who we can work with along the way through that. And that really puts us in a good position to market the event as well, because so many people in our community want to work for themselves and they want to do a plant-based vegan business because they believe in it, you know, and they really want to make an impact and change the world. So it's a natural thing for us to do.
Yeah. Have an ethical investor as well. It's like what Damien was saying, it's very difficult to find somebody who is like aligned with what you're doing and who, you know, who ultimately wants to help further veganism. And, you know, obviously as a business you have to turn a profit, but there isn't always that pressure. It's like they genuinely care about what you're doing and they want to help you. It's a really rare thing to find. So I think that's why it's so popular, because we're able to kind of find the ethical investors to get involved and pitch and plant.
And I think someone to say is vegan investment at the moment is growing, and we're seeing we've raised money, and we're seeing, you know, our friends at All Plants raised an incredible round of 7.5 million Series A. That is unheard of for vegan businesses, especially in the UK. But what I say is that investors who are backing vegan businesses, like the majority of vegan businesses aren't going to be an All Plants. They're not going to IPO. They're not going to make millions and millions of pounds. Most of these businesses, if they survive, will be lifestyle businesses that will sustain the founders and maybe a couple of staff, that, you know, and the people back in these businesses, they're unlikely to make billions of pounds from their investments. There may be the odd breakout success story, but ultimately a lot of these investors are doing it because they kind of want to support a community, and over a period of 5-10 years they probably will do okay out of it, but they're not going to, like, I think it's unlikely that all these businesses now that are doing really well, that all of them are going to go and exit for millions and millions of pounds.
Yeah.
I just don't think that's how it's going to play out, unless you're looking at kind of the some of the alternative meats and cheese companies.
Yeah, exactly. So they're doing it more to help further the cause.
They're people, and they probably will over the long term make gains.
Yeah.
But it's by no means guaranteed. I think that's what.
Of course, got it. Now, Judy, I think you touched on, or one of you touched on marketing. So I wanted to ask you about that, because your events, I mean, even from the get-go, your events, obviously the thing people in running events is, oh my God, is anyone going to turn up? And I know I even have events organisers. I know this is your background, Judy. I even have professional events organisers panic, and they do all kinds of strategies of, special early birds. You know what I mean? Because you really want to get people there. Now, from the get-go, Vevolution's been successful in attracting, decent numbers, good numbers of crowds to your event. So I'm just curious, what marketing strategies have been the most successful and are the most successful for you in getting bums on seats?
It is like exactly what you said. It is scary, and you always do think when you put an event on, you're so excited, you put it on, and you're like, oh my God, now it's like real. Constantly refreshing the page like Eventbrite. It changed quite a lot. When we first did Vevolution, it basically, we just had we basically didn't have, we had no money to market it. We had no money to market it, and we've operated.
We had no social media following. Really.
We had no social media following, but there was there's such a strong community, and things have changed over time because as veganism has become more mainstream, there's become more events, and we constantly have to be on our toes with changing our strategy and what we're doing. And for us, I think the strongest thing that's helped us is the storytelling side of it, because with everything we're doing, we're providing a platform for people to share their stories. So we like to make our content very interactive, and instead of it being super salesy and super promotional, and it's more about getting the story about whoever's involved across to our audience and our attendees, so they get excited about coming and hearing more at the event. So we do this through doing lots of really cool blog content. So we do interviews and different articles and our podcast. We do get some of the speakers to do Instagram takeovers, and we feel like that really works because it makes it more interactive and engaging. And we also think of ourselves how we engage in different content and different sales things. And if you've got someone just constantly sending you newsletters buy this ticket, come now, it's just a bit intense. So we just try and mix it up so there is creative content for people to engage with.
And speaking about the early days of Vevolution, I think it's because we are part of new wave of veganism. Veganism's been around for 70 years, and there's been all these people doing incredible work to get it to where it is now. But I guess we're part of that new wave of vegans who have come along the last kind of 5 to 6 years, and a whole bunch of us who have gone on to create companies that are doing well. We were just friends, hanging around talking about what are we going to do to follow our passion, basically. And that's how Plant-Based News came about. That's how Vevolution came about. That's how Bosch came about. All these companies, basically people who were connected to each other, knew each other, and were okay, let's start our own a new movement from people of our age and our generation. And after us, there's another wave already of younger vegans who are creating their new businesses and their communities. And I think it was just that time and where we were, and we started something that people told us they needed and wanted, and it got great support. And things have evolved, and there's so much more choice now for people, and we have to be more creative and professional in the way we market. In the early days, we just sort of put an event up on Facebook and loads of people
Nice. What do you do now? Do you use, I'm assuming you obviously got a decent sized email list now, which is always good for getting people because they're already part of your community. Do you use social media advertising? I'm curious about your thoughts on that, because I know there's kind of very mixed views amongst business owners and marketing people about the, whether it's actually worth paying to boost a post on Facebook or do a Facebook ad campaign or an Instagram ad campaign. So I'm just curious if you could talk a little bit about that.
we do some of that. I would say we do it at quite a low level. But I'm kind of skeptical as to how much impact Facebook campaigns have for us. It seems really that Instagram is the big driver of awareness about our events. And then quite often it's emails that kind of tip people over into making the decisions come. We try and be, like Judy said, creative with, we get people to do Instagram takeovers and that kind of, that create that kind of content to raise awareness. I think Facebook's a very difficult platform, especially for new businesses without brand awareness. I think what's the thing they say? Someone needs to see your event or your product 7 times before they're like a decision on it. So I guess, if you've got something keep popping up on Facebook, it may be they buy it through a different route. Look, paying for Facebook ads, paying for Instagram ads, unfortunately, it's here to stay. I think what is interesting is looking at new emerging platforms. If you're starting a new business and trying to build communities on there, like for example, a friend of ours, Daniel Goodall, who's he does have films actually, highlight videos for Vevolution. He's created a platform called Fee Society, which is
yes, I think he sent me a press release actually about that. I've got that's in my inbox to follow up with the amount of other things. Oh, cool. Yeah,
he's an absolute genius.
Yeah, he's incredible.
He's incredible. He really is. He represents the kind of new wave of young vegan entrepreneurs who are not only great at filming, but they can code, they can talk well. They're just incredible. And he's created this platform where actually you haven't got to pay for ads. There's a whole community of people on there. Go and hang out on there. Go and hang out on Reddit or other platforms where maybe they're not so saturated. And I think that there's and LinkedIn as well. LinkedIn is incredible for entrepreneurs. I would say that, if I feel like Facebook for us is just not where it's at. Instagram will still be a really important place for us. But increasingly, I would say that it's about finding those little niches and building communities within them. And if you're just throwing money down at Facebook campaigns all the time, I just don't think you're going to see a net gain unless you've got something that is really just a product that is very sort of people need a lot. I guess.
Got it. No, that makes sense. So it's always good to get different people's perspectives on that. And like you say, there's these emerging platforms, and it can be quite a dilemma for the business owners, to know where do I go, where do I spend the money, where do I try and get organic reach from. So it's good to get your views on that. So just very
spend as little money as possible on marketing. Really. So, and make yourself invaluable to the communities that you join. If you're a vegan entrepreneur, there's vegan entrepreneur groups on LinkedIn. Make yourself a valuable member of that community. When someone asks a question, be there to offer your advice. And I see as something you do, Katrina. I always see you on LinkedIn posting and commenting, and make yourself a part of the community. And therefore, when you do come with your sale, your offer, what you're offering as a business, people are going to be more receptive to that because they see you as a valuable member of their community.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And it's a long game, isn't it? It's a long game. There's no shortcuts to say, unless you've got a ton of money to spend on. I've called it, I don't know if somebody else called it, but I've named it the Paris Hilton effect, where apparently she hired about 5 publicists and then it got famous so quickly. But most of us can't do that. So it is more of that, that longer game and actually improving that you're there for the long haul as well. Because there's often people kind of popping up as, a vegan expert here, and then they're kind of gone after 6 months, presumably because they didn't make enough sales. But that you've got to be in it for the long haul and have the passion. So I love that. So just wrapping up then, what's your long-term vision for both yourselves, for Damien and for Judy, and for Vevolution?
Well, we're getting married in May.
Oh, lovely. Oh, how exciting. Oh, congratulations. I think you're the first people I've had on here to say that. How exciting. Yay, vegan wedding.
So we are doing a big blog about how to do a vegan wedding. I'm getting a vegan suit made. We've got amazing vegan baker, Bees Bakery, doing a cake.
Lovely.
So we're going to be doing a whole load of content around a big vegan wedding. So that is something we're doing, which we're really super excited about. In terms of the business, Vevolution is going to be continue to collaborate with Eat Drink Vegan. They came over and hosted a stage at our festival last year, and we're going to be going out to Los Angeles again this June to collaborate with them. So there's kind of a really great brother and sister relationship there between us and Eat Drink Vegan, and we're looking to grow our movement internationally. So we would love to do Vevolutions in other countries around the world. So if anyone's listening to this and they think, I would love Vevolution in my city, just like hit us up with an email, because we're really open to trying to do that. And growing your business internationally isn't the easiest thing to do. So we need support, and we need great people in those countries to work with us. So we want to grow our movement beyond the UK. We want to keep supporting businesses, and we're going to be holding our plant-based business boot camp again on the 13th of July. That hasn't been publicly announced yet, so this is like a little exclusive. And we're hopefully be announcing something with Pitch and Plant for that as well. So there'll be another version of Pitch and Plant.
And we're also going to be growing our media side of things as well, like our multimedia content. So that's really exciting as well. So we're putting a lot more focus on that this year and coming up with some new products. So
we're kind of in the development phase for those multimedia products at the moment. And by the summer, I expect to see Vevolution focusing more on that area. So we're going to be releasing some more media products.
So some content, do you mean? Like
videos, podcasts, all that kind of stuff.
Fantastic. Wonderful. Oh, it's very exciting. I love it. Well, look, you've shared some fantastic insights, both of you, and it's been great to see Vevolution grow. And I really appreciate you being generous in sharing, your journey and how it's worked for you, and sharing some really useful tips and advice. So I know I'm always inspired when I do these interviews, and today is no different. So it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to two people from my original hometown. So thank you both for coming on the show.
Who knew all these vegans were from Dartford?
Thank you both for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure. So that was Damien Clarkson and Judy Nadel from Vevolution. You can find out more at vevolution.co. And that link is on the show notes page at veganbusinessmedia.com/podcasts and going to episode 117. Now for some vegan business news highlights. The Plant-Based World Conference and Expo takes place in New York next month. That's 7th to the 8th of June 2019. This is a new event that has 3 streams: business, health and community. The trade show brings together experts, entrepreneurs, corporates and investors working or interested in the plant-based market. On the second day, the event is open to the general public. I'm excited to be heading over to one of my favourite cities, where I'll be doing some interviews and reporting on interesting trends and developments from a business perspective. So if you haven't already signed up for my newsletter, go to veganbusinessmedia.com so that you can keep up to date, and you can also connect with me on my social media platforms. Now, the organiser of the Plant-Based World Conference and Expo, Ben Davis, was a guest on the show recently, so you can listen to his interview in episode 113. You can find out more about the Expo and register at plantbasedworldexpo.com. And that link is on the show notes page for this episode at veganbusinessmedia.com/podcasts. Beyond Meat is set to become the first publicly traded vegan meat company. The brand, which makes plant-based versions of burgers, sausages and other products that mimic the taste, texture and smell of their animal-based counterparts, is due to go public on the 1st of May. And again, that's 2019 if you're listening in the future. According to Reuters, in its latest filing with the US Securities and Exchange Commission, Beyond Meat said it expects to offer 9.63 million shares, and the IPO is to be priced between $23 and $25 per share. This will put the company's value at $1.49 billion. So this is really exciting and paves the way for more vegan companies to go public and make their products mainstream. Fantastic. So that's it for this episode of Vegan Business Talk. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed the show, I'd really appreciate it if you gave it a review and rating on iTunes or any other platform you're listening on. Finally, I encourage you to head over to veganbusinessmedia.com, where you can find more free resources as well as details of how we can work together to help you grow your vegan business. I'm Katrina Fox, author of Vegan Ventures, Start and Grow an Ethical Business. And I look forward to catching up with you in the next episode of Vegan Business Talk. Bye for now.